I have seen the Anthropocene. I've seen plastics in salt lakes at 5,000 meters in the Kunlun Shan of China's wild, wild west, the Xinjiang. This was 3 days drive and 2 days walk from the nearest village. I've seen the moth snowstorm when driving at night and having a barrage of insects cover your car. But I saw that 35 years ago and I haven't seen it since. But the new nature that I've seen through the Anthropocene is nothing compared to what we read about from the science. The nature that humanity is creating is bleak. But this isn't about the science. Fixing biodiversity is going to take different tools than the science and the diagnosis. So here's why. For every dollar that we spend on restoring forests or fixing them or conserving them, $150 go into destroying them. So think about that. 99% of our economic activity is going into destroying what we in this room are trying to save. We need to step back. We need to step way back, and we need to see that the economic systems and that the natural systems are the same system. And we've heard this. Then we need to look at this complex system, and this is a system that we have essentially created. We've created it in the last 75 years, really. And we need to look not where we need more money here or there, but at the bigger leverage points in that system. And in particular, some things that we need to stop. We need to stop corporate capture. We need to stop rewarding the destruction of nature. Big corporations and the finance industry, they have way too much influence on political systems. But research on lobbying in Brussels has shown that the most influential lobbying is not those with the most money, and it's not those with the most power, the richest or the strongest. It's the ones with the most appropriate strategies. And that can be democratized. We need to focus on rewiring the trillions of dollars that go into destructive corporate activity rather than doubling or tripling the billions that go into conservation. We need to stop accepting political apathy. A Dutch NGO sued their government after Paris. They sued them because their commitments to climate change weren't strong enough. They weren't stringent enough. And you know what? They won. This triggered a massive shift in public opinion. It laid the ground for a new government to come in, a new coalition to propose and have accepted legislation committing to 95% emission reductions. We must hold our governments accountable by using our courts and a legal recourse that is available to us, that exists in most countries in the world, and use that to hold them accountable. We must stop talking about doom. In order for it to stick, a story needs to be stronger than the story that it replaces. But the story that we're replacing is not the one of the tragedy of conservation that we talk about. That's a bad story, we know that, but that's not the one we actually need to replace. The story that we actually need to replace is the rags to riches story of the American dream. The story of consumption, because that's the one that people embrace deep down, and because of their embracement of that, they can't even open up their minds to potential for other stories. So what is that new story that's going to replace that? Is it a story of a quest? The quest for a flourishing Anthropocene? Probably not exactly that, because most people don't know and can't pronounce Anthropocene, let alone me. But we must tell stronger stories. We need to get people, shareholders, activists, voters, protesters, we need to get them to demand in this new nature, in this Anthropocene, we need to get them to demand a better nature than the one that we're currently building. And so each of these different things is happening. Each of them has a grain of hope built into it. They are flowers. Some of these things are happening around the fringes. The ones I highlighted are not happening from the major institutions. They're happening in small pockets. So they're wildflowers. And we need to find these wildflowers, and we need to nurture them. We need to water them, and we need to help them grow. And then with these wildflowers, on the fringes, not within the deep biodiversity community, but from the outside, these are the flowers that will help us bloom and help us create a better humanity. Thank you.